Let's bring back in Navy SEAL and trained Navy diver, Jake Zweig. Jake, thanks for joining us again. We understand the Coast Guard has 3 small boats and 1 Coast Guard cutter there. They're doing the search and rescue. What do you think about the type of resources that they put in play?
I mean, they put everybody they got in the area in the water. They've probably got, they've got as many resources as they need on station. The big question is whether or not anybody's able to survive for 5 hours underwater in a car.
Well, we do know they got 2, right? We have 1 that's being hospitalized. The other one turned down care. Does that give you hope?
I'm going to be honest with you. There's not a lot of hope in my mind at this point. It's a recovery operation.
You know, Jake, with these UAVs that they put in the water, they pretty much know what they're working with right now, right? These drones.
I think there's probably a lot of ambiguity around the situation. I said it before. There's a lot of dangerous conditions right now. You have a bridge that's collapsed into the water. You have containers in the water. You have a shifting tide current that's now coming in at peak flow. So there's just a lot of factors involved right now. The UAVs are helpful, but that still requires the person to be alive under the water in the car. I just think it's unlikely at this point that we're going to be pulling live people out of the water.
Right, and we have heard that, according to the experts, apparently sonar detected vehicles. Would the sonar, Jake, also be able to hear somebody if they were banging on the car, on the window or something like that?
I would say in this situation, there's probably a lot of other ambient noise in the area. The ship is right there still running. I think it'd be very hard for them to hear someone banging on a car underwater with the sonar. The sonar, side scan sonar, is looking more so for objects. I don't have enough information to be able to give you a good job on that one.
We heard from the Maryland Department of Transportation just now. He was asked twice, was there a power outage on the ship, to which he responded, it is too early in the investigation. But he simultaneously ruled out that this was any sort of foul play. So what we are left with thinking is, weather wasn't at play here, 10-mile visibility, your mind goes to mechanical. You said to us at 6:15 a.m. this morning that you did not see a tugboat here. A tugboat would guide this ship through there. Since we've spoken with 2 others, Clyde Boatwright with the Fraternal State Police, and also Frederick John Nicole. He was a captain, both of which echoed you. They said there should have been a tugboat here. You need tugboats to navigate through this narrow terrain. Now looking at this footage in the daylight, do you see a tugboat?
No, I don't see a tugboat there. It didn't appear to be a tugboat earlier on either. The tugboats normally cut away at this point. It's a cost factor. It costs money to have a tugboat go all the way out through the bridge, and these don't happen very often. I think the biggest key point in failure is going to be the maintenance logs on the ship. Right. Apparently it lost power before. You know, the carrier out of Singapore is going to be responsible for everything, so they're going to do a massive NTB investigation, and they'll figure out, what was at the cause of the problem.
Jake, to that point of the investigation, do you anticipate state or federal officials have already made their way onto the boat to kind of freeze this crime scene?
It happened at 1:30 in the morning. My guess is all those guys are getting up, getting a call, telling them to head that way, and they'll be boarding that ship here shortly.
Yeah. Jake, as a Navy diver yourself, at what point do they put people in the water? Because as you said, it's a dynamic situation. There are cars under there. There is at least 1 tractor trailer. And there's a bridge down there, too. You got to worry not only about rescuing the people, but the safety of any divers who are going to go in the water.
The Coast Guard is there, right? You have to go out, but you don't have to come back. So the swiftwater rescue teams, I saw some swiftwater rescue boats there. Those guys were in the water as soon as they could get in the water. They weren't worried about their safety or the safety of what they were doing. They were in there trying to help people survive this catastrophic event in Baltimore. I know we got the best people in the world down there. They got in the water. They're doing their job. You
might not be the best person to ask for this, so feel free to say I don't know. But there are some reports that black smoke came out, and that usually means that they tried to reverse the engines at the last minute. If that is in fact the case, does that sound right?
I did see the black smoke. That very well could have been the case that they slammed it into full reverse. But I'm just telling you, a ship of that size probably takes a mile and a half to slow down and actually get moving the other direction. So all of those efforts would be futile if they only had 2 minutes to make a decision.
But it does show you they tried to adjust. They tried to adjust, right? That would have power.
Mm-hmm.
Jake, I think, for a lot of people watching, they may just assume, if you're on a plane, if you're on a ship, so much of this in this day and age in the 21st century is mechanical, right? But we've been told by two of our experts that human error is involved here as well. So if you could just enlighten us, what part of this is autopilot and what part of this is capacity for human error from someone piloting this?
My guess is it's probably going to be very limited human error on the actual event. The human error will come into play in the maintenance. Something failed on this ship to cause it to lose power. They're not running on autopilot ever in this situation. That's why there's two world-class pilots on the ship that are very versed in Baltimore Harbor. That's the only harbor they work in, and they know everything. They were guiding the ship. There was a helmsman, engineman, the captain of the ship, and two pilots. This wasn't a case where they fell asleep and it just crashed into the bridge.
Right. As we look at the cargo ship there, with part of the bridge still on top of it, could it also be, given the fact that it takes a mile to slow it down, as you said, is there a possibility that that ship is overloaded? It just weighs too much as well?
So I listened to the captain that you guys had on earlier, and he said that ships leaving port were light, meaning that most of their cargo had been unloaded in Baltimore Harbor, and they were leaving light. I don't think light or heavy really had that much to do here. It was just a straight, they lost the ability to control the ship. The ship went out of control. The ship hit the bridge. Now we have a catastrophic problem in Baltimore.
Jake, you've been consistent since you were with us at the top of the program that you felt like this was more of a recovery mission. Why do you say that? What conditions that you see from your experience point to that?
So water is one of those environments that people don't live long in. Yeah. And you can go a long time without food, but you can't go a long time without air. And we're well past, there's nobody holding their breath for 5 hours underwater. Cars don't trap water. They're going to lose the air. Cars don't trap air. I just think that right now, the two survivors they found, one was incredibly injured. So they were able to find him early on, and he's still in massive trouble in the hospital, and one was uninjured. My guess is those will be the two survivors, and, hopefully we get limited number of people. We're talking about, I heard 7. I find that hard to believe if there are 7 people on the bridge and there was a construction crew on the bridge, but maybe we'll get lucky and it'll be a limited number of bad days for families today.
I mean, if they're going to crash into it, the time to do it, you would think, is 1:30 in the morning. It's probably the least traffic time. Imagine if this happened during rush hour.
It could have been a lot worse.
Jake, when you look at this video, and I realize Maryland Department of Transportation Secretary said he cannot confirm a power outage, but to the naked eye, it looks like power seems to go in and out. What do you see as someone who's a Navy SEAL and an expert in this matter?
As a former ship driver, anytime you see that ship go black, they had a problem. Yeah. And then all the lights come back on right before it hits the pier. You see the smoke coming out of the smokestack. They got it slammed in reverse.
Right.
Yeah.
The ship is turning. It's just too big. It's too massive. I liken it to if you're in your car and you get a flat tire and you only have 2 seconds to react, you're not going to be able to do too much.
So
a ship of
right. With your analysis, the ship, and we had heard that it went dark 2 minutes before the ship hit the bridge. But then, like 10 seconds before it actually hits that particular support column, the lights flicker on in different parts of the ship, and then they go out again. So maybe they were working like crazy to regain power. They got it. Next thing you know, it's just too late to turn.
It takes probably 5 miles to turn that ship around.
Wow.
So think about that. They had 150 yards of their side of the channel to hit that bridge. And I'm telling you, it takes 5 miles to turn that ship around. Wow. They had no chance.
Jake, thanks so much. We'll check in with you again. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
we'll try to
Jake.
gather more facts. And